In 1989, Doctor Who was cancelled after 26 years. The effects of this cancellation would go into effect the show and the franchise up until this day, and there would be no official return to the series until 2005 with the revival series with Russell T Davies. But what if things had been different that year? What if Doctor Who remained on the television after season 26? What would have become of the show had it went all the way through the 1990s? And how different would the show be compared to our own version of the show if it lasted up to the modern day? Hi, my name is Optical Spectre, and this is Doctor Who, the cancelled years. In this series, I'll be answering one question: what if Doctor Who survived cancellation in 1989? With the basic premise now out of the way, let's find out what would have happened in this episode. Season 29 of Doctor Who would have acted as a continuation of Season 28, with the darker stories and the new tone set by Fraser and Aronovich the previous year. With Alan Yen topic of control of BBC One in 1993, Doctor Who would have moved back with him, making Season 29 the last one to air live on BBC Two. Like in our old timeline, occasional stories of old episodes would have aired on BBC Two throughout the 90s. This season would have also ended the fan-named Cartmel Master Plan with Episode 6's Long Barrel, after 5 years of preparation and building up. The first story would have been Avatar, a 3-part story written by David A. McKenzie. Avatar would have been about body-snatching aliens who could only inhabit the bodies of the dead. They would have discovered the fossilised remains of a Silurian god and were planning to clone it, so that they could evolve into the next evolution in their race and conquer any world they choose. Throughout each part, the leader of the group's body was to become more and more decrepit until there was just a rotting skeleton at the end, kinda how the Master was supposed to in the TV movie. While this story is yet to get any kind of adaptation, bits and pieces of the story, alongside some characters, made their way into the Virgin New Adventures novel, White Darkness. The second story would have been named Hostage, a 3-part story written by Neil Penswick. Hostage would have been about an elite group of soldiers sent after shape-shifting aliens named Butler and Suave, who had stolen a new weapon and had taken it to an overgrown jungle planet. The cliffhanger to part 1 would have saw Suave changed in full view into a monster, before it went on the hunt in part 2. The Doctor and Rain would have been involved in helping the soldiers track down Butler and Suave. During part 2, it would have been revealed that the jungle planet they were on was in fact the last battleground between the Timelords and the Jaggeroth. The end piece of the story would have been set in the castle, where the criminals intended to ignite the bomb. However, they would have been stopped by the Doctor and Rain and the soldiers. Essentially, the story would have very much have been Doctor Who meets Alien and Predators, and the whole story would have had a fairy tale feel to it. While the story is yet to get any kind of adaptation, some scenes and whole portions of the story made their way into the Virgin New Adventures novel, The Pit. The third story would have been Nightshade, a 4-part story written by Mark Gatiss. This story isn't a cancelled story in any way. The story was actually made for the Virgin New Adventures range. This is the first of many adapted stories. These are stories from novels and audios that I think would have worked on the show, and that would have been made had the show not in fact been cancelled. Nightshade would have saw the Doctor contemplating retirement, as he thinks he has done enough. The Doctor and Rain travel to the isolated village Crook Marshall in the year 1968, as Rain thinks he'll find the peace he yearns for there. While in the village, the Doctor and Rain find that the villagers are slowly being killed off. They find that the killer is an ancient sentience trapped within the earth since its formation, that feeds on the nostalgia from the villagers that's produced from reruns of an old TV show named Nightshade. The Doctor and Rain find themselves teamed up with Edmund Trevivick, a washed-up actor who played Professor Nightshade in the old TV show, to defeat the sentience. The Doctor tricks the sentient into feeding off a supernova and traps the sentient in a black hole it created. In reality, this story can be experienced through the 1992 Virgin New Adventures novel or the 2016 audio adaptation, however with the 8th Doctor being replaced with the 7th Doctor and Ace. The 4th story would have been Battleground, a 3-part story written by Ben Aronovich. Battleground is an original story and it would have acted as a prequel to 1989's Battlefield. Would have saw the Doctor main arriving in Morgane's universe prior to the events of Battlefield and would have essentially set up the events of Battlefield. It would have saw the Doctor become a Merlin, banishing Morgane, meeting King Arthur and creating the messages for his past self to receive. While this is an original story, the short story titled One Faithful Night acts as the prequel in our own timeline. This story can be found in the Short Trips anthology, The Quality of Leadership. The 5th story would have been Evolution, a 3-part story written by Rona Munro. Evolution is an original story and would have acted as a companion light story to better flesh out the 8th Doctor. Rain would have become ill prior to this story, and so the Doctor takes her to one of the most advanced hospitals in the universe to recover. He finds that it'll take 2 days until she fully recovers, so he's very much stuck in the hospital until then. The Doctor gets curious as to how the hospital heals everyone and explores the lower levels of the hospital, where he finds a mysterious gateway on one of the lowest levels. On the other side of the gateway, he finds a planet inhabited by bat creatures, and he finds their leader, the Master. This version of the Master would still be played by Anthony Ainley. The Master would have been more alien-like than ever before. After the events of survival, he finds himself involved to a creature that isn't Time Lord, and due to the effects of him being on the Bat World, he is slowly evolving into one of the Bat creatures. But he would be more than the Bat creatures, as with the cheetah DNA, he is turning into a brand new species altogether. With his army of bat creatures, he plans to take over the hospital, kill everyone and raid all the supplies in hopes of finding a cure that will either revert him back into a Time Lord or make him immortal. The story would have played out a bit like the 2006 episode New Earth, with the Doctor trying to find ways of defeating the bat creatures as they travel through the building. He would have small and temporary companions in the forms of the doctors and nurses. However, unlike the nurses in New Earth, these would just be ordinary people and not cat people. He eventually is able to brew up a potion that kills the bat people and it knocks out the Master. So he throws the Master back onto the bat planet and closes the gateway. While a lot of the story uses similarities and maybe even scenes from 2006's New Earth, the story would have played out as its own thing. And as a side note, New Earth will not be a story in my series due to this one already existing. The final story would have been Lung Barrow, a 4-part story written by Mark Platt. Lung Barrow was to be the first Gallifrey story since season 23. It would have featured appearances of Louise Jameson as Leela, Lalla Ward as Romana, John Leeson voicing both K9 Mark 1 and 2, Christopher Trantrell as Andred, and Dina Sheridan as President Flavia. It's very likely Sophie Aldred would have been asked to reprise her role as Ace is now on Gallifrey after Thin Ice. However, with her leaving the role only 2 years prior, I think it's unlikely her character would have been featured in this story. This story would have explored Gallifrey's history and how Time Lords are created by looms, meaning that all Time Lords are technically cousins. It also would have explored the 3 founding fathers of Gallifrey, Rassilon, Omega, and the Other. This is the first time we learn of the Other, and although we do not learn who he is, we learn that he has a connection or is some way related to the Doctor himself. It would have saw the Doctor's loom place that housed a lung barrow vanishing, and the Doctor being framed for murder of one of his cousins. Meanwhile, Romana is being chased and hunted by the Celestial Intervention Agency, who are also trying to overthrow Flavia as president. When he arrives on Gallifrey, the Doctor would have been arrested as a murderer and would have had to stand trial alongside Leela, Android, K9 Mark 1 and Flavia, who is attempting to clear her name. Soon afterwards, they discover the house of Lunk Barrow and find it containing one of the Doctor's cousins, named Glospin, who is the real murderer and framed the Doctor, as he knows who the Doctor is and how he is related to the other. Eventually, Glospin is defeated, everyone's name is cleared, the corrupt CIA are discovered and defeated, and the house of Lunk Barrow collapses. The story was originally planned for season 26, however it was held off as Cartmel at the time felt it was too early to introduce this type of concept. The story was rewritten and adapted for Ace into Ghostlight. This story would see the light of day in 1997 when it was adapted into a Virgin New Adventures novel. However, with changes involving the change of characters, and in the novel it reveals that the Doctor is in fact the other, but a reincarnation of the other. However, in this universe it's never said that he is the other reincarnated. However, it is heavily implied and it would have been left up to the audience's imagination. This would have been done to not give too much of the Doctor's backstory away. And that's it for season 29. The season would have received mixed reactions, but it's still considered decent enough. So that's it for now. In the next video I'll be discussing season 30, the 30th anniversary of Doctor Who.